Hi guys, welcome back to the Tech Chap. In this video, I'm going to compare the speed and the performance between the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the brand new Galaxy S7. But if you prefer the Galaxy S7 Edge, if that's what you're more interested in or you've just bought one, stay tuned to this video as well, as the S7 and the S7 Edge share the exact same specs. The only difference is the screen size and the battery capacity, neither of which we're testing in this video. So we're going to test the boot speed times, benchmarks, app launching speeds, and also how fast the camera wakes up by double tapping the home button, which is the camera shortcut, as well as seeing if the fingerprint reader is any faster on the new S7 as well. So let's get the speed test started by seeing which boots faster. Both phones are running the latest Android 6.0.1 software. The S7 has 4 GB of RAM versus the 3 on the S6, and the new S7 uses Samsung's own Exynos 8890 processor compared with the 7420 Exynos on the Galaxy S6. These are both the European models, and the S7 here doesn't have the Snapdragon 820, which is in some variants. So the S7 boots a couple of seconds quicker than the S6, but I really want to know if we can quantify the performance difference between the different phones. So let's run a few different benchmarks, starting with 3D Mark to see if we can put a number on the performance of each phone. As you can see, the S7 scored 2,138 versus 1,297 on the S6. That's a 65% increase. But moving on to the Antutu Benchmark, the S7 scores a phenomenal 131,198. That compares to 79,744 on the S6, which, believe it or not, is also a 65% improvement. Now, last but not least, Geekbench 3. Again, we're seeing big differences in both single and multi-core performance. The S7 is 150% faster in single core and 75% faster in multi-core. So we're seeing some big numbers, but of course these are just benchmarks. The real question is how this translates into real-world performance. So let's crack on with our app launching test. Following a fresh restart and having made sure there are no recently used apps running in the background, let's start with the camera app. So the S7 is a clear winner in the app launching test. The S6 didn't come first in a single app launch, although they did draw in opening Dropbox, YouTube, and the Play Store. But the other 13 apps all loaded quicker on the S7, but in most cases only by a fraction of a second. We saw the biggest differences when it came to launching intensive games, although there still wasn't a big difference. The S7, for example, launched Modern Combat 5 just 1 second quicker than the S6. Angry Birds and Temple Run 2 were 2.5 and 5 seconds quicker respectively on the S7, which I suppose is a bit significant. But at best, the S7 was maybe a couple of seconds quicker opening some more intensive games, but at worst, and for most of the time, there was barely any difference there at all, which is a shame considering how much faster the S7 was in the benchmarks. Now, switching back and forth between recently used apps, both phones were very fast and there really wasn't any difference between them, despite the fact the S7 does have 4 GB of RAM, which in theory should improve its multitasking speeds, although of course this isn't strictly multitasking, switching between recently open apps, but it's still a good demonstration, a good indicator of RAM performance. The next test is to see whether the double tap camera opening shortcut is faster on the new S7. Opening it for the first time, the S7 is about half a second quicker than the S6. However, closing it and then resuming the app proved indecisive, with both devices trading first place, but again, only by a fraction of a setting. The final test is to see if the Fingerprint Reader has got any faster at unlocking the phone on the new S7. As you can see, there's absolutely no difference between the S6 and the S7 in the speed you can unlock the phone with a fingerprint reader. But whether the S7 has a better, more consistently reliable fingerprint reader is a question for another video. But in terms of raw speed and performance, they're pretty much identical. So that's the results. Is it roughly what you expected to see? I think it's really interesting how all 3 benchmarks showed massive gains with the S7 over the S6, but in reality there was really very little real world difference. The S7 did boot a couple of seconds quicker and the odd game loaded a bit faster, but nothing earth-shattering. Of course, swiping between home screens and opening apps really isn't pushing these octa-core chips to their full potential. I actually spoke to a Qualcomm manager in MWC at Barcelona this year who said the real performance improvements are behind the scenes, such as 4K video, photo processing, and also efficiency savings. So as I say, swiping between home screens and these day-to-day tasks that you and I do most of the time, you're not really going to see much difference between a quad-core, an octa-core, an Exynos 7420 or an Exynos 8890, or for that matter, a Snapdragon 820. And that sort of raises the question, a lot of people were a bit disappointed in the UK and Europe because they weren't getting the Snapdragon 820 variant of the Galaxy S7. But given what we've seen here today with the benchmarks versus real-world performance, do you really think you would see much of a difference even if the 820 did perform a little bit better in some of the benchmarks? Do you think that would translate to a faster user experience on your S7? I don't think it would at all. Anyway, let me know what you think of the new Galaxy phones in the comments below. Will you be buying one? And if so, would it be the S7 or the S7 Edge? I hope you found this speed test useful. If you do enjoy my videos, please do like and subscribe. It makes all the difference and it makes it all worthwhile. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again right here on the Tech Chat.